What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Cider Report back for another video. Joining me, as somewhat usual now at this point, is Kenton Farr, who is TikTok famous, which is what, Kenton?
The worst kind of famous.
Look, I don't know. You started saying it. It's a thing now, so that's just what we're doing. Um, yeah. So joining us in a little bit is definitely going to be Matt Pig. I was only talking to him literally 24 hours ago. So yeah, he'll definitely be along. Michael might be along. Anybody else who's in the live chat who wants to join in, more than welcome to. Michael, conservatives get triggered by TikTok so easy, quite funny. Well, do you want to weigh in on that whilst we're kind of waiting for someone else to show up? Because card carrying member of the Tory party and everything.
Yeah, no, this is true. Why do conservatives get triggered by TikTok? We don't really. We get triggered by ill-conceived lefty wank. That's what we get triggered by. There's a lot of TikTok that's just irrelevant, and even the political content is relatively harmless. Even if the stuff is liberal, it's more liberal than I am in many respects, then that doesn't bother me. It's when ideas are poorly conceived, poorly delivered, and they are based on a load of ideological presuppositions that make no sense. That's when the conservatives get leery. That's how I started my career. My presence on TikTok is me purely responding to lefty crackpots. That's all I do. That's they're my, I can't dig them too much because they're my bread and butter. But yeah, that's what we respond. It's not that we hate everybody on the left. It's just that we hate lunatics who think that they're onto something and they're really not.
Yeah. So he did correct, and he said like mainly American conservatives, and like that like he is American, which I mean, like I can kind of understand that to a degree as well, because like if you go on to Ben Shapiro's channel, right, his his YouTube channel. I'm not talking about the Daily Wire. I'm talking about Ben Shapiro's YouTube channel. Like the last couple of videos of his is just him just reacting to people on TikTok. And it's so like
it's a great content spinner. And the thing is, because you can pause them and you can talk it out. As long as you make it 10 minutes, it's a viable video.
Yeah.
It makes sense. So, I don't blame them for doing it. But the thing is, you've got to admit, I mean, even though you are a massive, socialist lefty wonk, that there are a lot of loonies on TikTok, on social media in general, spouting all kinds of crazy bollocks about how the world works and how it would be better, and it's too tempting. In fact, but this is the I think contributes to the polarization of our political discourse. The fact that you've only got basically, if you're anywhere to the left of Marx, you're Hitler. If you're anywhere to the right of Hitler, you're Trotsky. Anywhere to the left of Hitler, sorry, you're Trotsky. And it's a very, there's no nuance, there's no middle ground anymore because of things like this.
Yeah, I kind of think. Yeah, I do kind of think so. That like, well, yeah, but okay, yeah. So there's a lot of people online who would be, normally kind of on, like they would be kind of passively on the left. That like, yeah, that I don't agree with either. I don't think, you know what I mean. That like I kind of think it's a little bit like, all right, okay, like I see where you're coming from, but just no. Like,
oh, you've got the right idea, but your tactics are wrong. You're never going to convince anybody. That's the other big one. That's my big bugbear. It's like, yeah, okay, you are worldly wise and you know everything. How are you going to win an election? And at that point, the conversation dies because they've got no idea. They're more interested in being right than being effective.
Yeah, well, you see, it's sort of that, but I mean, it's also sort of like look, this is something. So I'm going on to Crafty Keela's channel tomorrow. I don't know if you've met her. Have you met Crafty? Yes, you have. You have. Yes.
2-hour conversation about abortion. If I remember right.
Yes. It was quite a long one. But yeah, so like I'm going on to her channel tomorrow, right? And like the stream that she does on Sunday morning is like it's just anything and everything. It's completely random chat. There's no topics necessarily. It's just kind of like what comes up we talk about and that's it, right? And it's it's like good fun. It's good crack and everything. Um, but yeah, just to kind of stay in the same lane of what you were talking about, have you heard the latest thing that Demi Lovato said? It's been going around. I'm sure you have. Oh, Kendon's just frozen. Right, I thought he was just kind of staring intently. Jesus Christ. Okay, so Kendon will be back, I'm sure, at some point. Listen, I thought he was just very concentrated on what he was saying, or on like what I was saying. Just refresh this, Kendon, if you can hear this at all. Just refresh the thing. It's no problem, Mathpig. Yes, I thought he was staring intently as well, and as soon as I, as soon as I finished, I was just kind of like, "All right, okay, we're not going to get a fucking response out of him." There he is. There, he'll be back. He'll be back in a second. He'll be back in a second. Um, yeah, it's kind of suspenseful now. I kind of want to, I like, so just for chat, have you heard the thing that Demi Lovato had said that's kind of not necessarily like riling people up, but that like has gone semi-viral. Like there's a lot of people kind of talking about it. There's a lot of people like sharing what they think about, excuse me, about like what she said. Have you guys heard about that in chat? I'll leave that a minute or so just for people to type. But yeah, I heard Debbie said something, but not exactly what she said.
Oh,
Here
yeah.
you are, Kendon. We weren't sure what happened. There was somebody else in chat that completely backed me up. I genuinely thought that you were just staring intently, listening to what I said, and then I stopped and was listening for you to like respond, and you just didn't. And I was like, oh shit! All right, okay.
Never mind.
Have you heard
No,
about the latest thing that Demi said?
well, the latest thing that who said?
Uh, that's it's Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato, the singer.
Oh, is it that you can't use aliens because it's an offensive term? Because it's
To
offensive to like,
extraterrestrials, yeah.
yeah.
Wait, which
That
is,
the woman's broken. I'm sorry, she needs therapy.
I
I know
mean,
she's got a history of being a smackhead, and she's a gorgeous looking woman and all the rest of it, but clearly her mind is wandering and she needs counselling. Didn't she once have a rant at an ice cream parlor because they were serving sugary ice cream and that discriminated
they
against
were
diabetes?
serving sugar-free ice cream.
Why was that a problem? Do you remember
So Demi has a history of
being fucking nuts?
no, she has a history of you know an eating disorder, and so like when it kind of when all this kind of when she went in, like I don't know, apparently it like triggered something, which look, I don't know anything about eating disorders. I have no idea what it's like to experience what that's like. I have genuinely no idea. um yeah, so Michael A in chat, to be fair, is saying Demi has come out as non-binary, so they them pronouns. Just be generally respectful, that's all.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Like, sorry. Yes, Mathpig is still on his way. He was just seeing to his daughter, so he should be here very, very, very soon.
Well, I'm just looking at the BBC News. The man who stabbed David Amos, the MP, has been detained under the Terrorism Act, and his name is Ali Harbi Ali. So yeah, this is going to have a massive knock-on effect.
I'm really, really, really sorry to have to do this. I have a little bit of an emergency. I will be grab. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just gonna have to basically just kind of take a call just super quickly. I will be back as absolutely soon as I possibly can. Hopefully
Okay.
MathPig joins. If he does, then I'll just add him in. So yeah.
Sure. Hello, Internet. This is a mildly conservative Englishman on an Irish socialist YouTube channel. I can't actually see what anyone is doing. So if you've got any comments, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to open up the actual YouTube channel to see what people are doing. And then we'll go on here. Let's have a look.
What's up?
Let's have a look in.
What you do?
Colon's in. Hello, Colon. How are you? Let's have a look in. What you do? Colon's in. Hello, Colon. How are you? Let's have a look in. What you do? Colon. Yeah, I'm getting an echo effect here.
Just tell me.
Michael
Eddie,
A asks, Kendon, what are your thoughts on the murder
me.
of the Member of Parliament the other day and just a few years after Joe Cox? Yeah, no, I'm just having a look here. Yeah, there we go. Well, he was my local MP. So David Amis was the MP for Southend East, and I come from Southend. And I didn't know him because you never know members of parliament like that. But he would visit our school for like prize giving days and things like that. He was always known to walk around town whenever there was a major event on in Southend, like the Southend Air Show, for example. He would shepherd people along. Everybody knew him, and he was one of those rare politicians, a bit like John McCain in the US, although at a rather less exalted level, in that everybody, regardless of political affiliation, liked him. He was respected because they understood that he was actually into, say, helping his local community. That was his entire function. He saw politics not so much as a job, but as a vocation. And so he took it seriously, and his door was always open. And unfortunately, it was open to an Islamist terrorist who stabbed him 17 times. So he was 69. He leaves behind a son and 4 daughters. The local community is devastated. There are all sorts of floral tributes and things like that. So clearly, he was much loved. Yeah, so it has been confirmed that the guy, is it Ali Harbi Ali, is an Islamist, sort of a homicidal pseudo-Muslim, which means that there will no doubt be some kind of response. In fact, part of me is really tempted to find Carl Benjamin's channel just to see what his response to the murder of David Amos would be, because he's going to milk it. I imagine that Paul Joseph Watson has something to say as well. In fact, UKIP, the United Kingdom Independence Party, might actually gain a few votes because of this. So, yeah, there we go. Those are my thoughts. I'm not sure how clever or coherent they were, but there you are. Do with them what you will. Yeah, the thing is, though, I also, when you're talking, Michael A. has just compared the murder of this Sir David Amos to Joe Cox. With Joe Cox, because I think she was a woman, a mother, and a member of the Labour Party, she was a more sympathetic victim in the eyes of the media. Obviously, she didn't deserve to die. That's not my argument. But the response to her death was more compassionate, I think, because of her nature, because of her circumstances. So David, being older and a man, and a Tory, which means he's second to Satan in the eyes of many people, means that they probably won't care about his death so much. There is always that danger. But there we go. That's it. Those are my thoughts. I don't know what we're supposed to do with it.
Yes, very sorry about that. Yeah, unforeseen emergency, as does happen.
Michael A asks, do you foresee a day when Scotland will actually be able to be independent from the UK? Yes, but I have no idea what the context would be. It's because obviously the Scottish independence is one of those weird ones where it's not. I'm not so much afraid of them of unleashing the Scots as I am of unleashing the English. Because the last thing I want is an independent England, because then the English will become unbearable and they'll do terrible things. Just ask Stephen; he lives in a country next door.
I don't know what you mean about England will become unbearable.
Very good, man. Very good. No, but the thing is, though, I mean, maybe you guys see it differently because obviously you're abroad, but um, I've always had some sympathy for like Celtic nationalism because I kind of understand what it's for. It's basically a shield because obviously countries have been occupied, domestic cultures have been crushed, etc. So I kind of understand what it's there. It's there to protect what's left of it from the English boot heel. Whereas English nationalism, in my mind, has always been a sword. It was English nationalism that inspired the conquest of Ireland, for example. So I've always taken a very dim view of English nationalism in particular, and I'm afraid that if England becomes a sovereign state, Scotland does its own thing. Maybe Wales is still with us. I don't know. Even if Ireland, I don't want to see the St George's flag everywhere and shaven-headed, gammon-faced football fans smashing. I can't fucking be bothered with that.
Gammon's not bad if it's cooked right, though.
Say again, sorry.
I says gammon's not bad when cooked correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like referring to those sort of people as gammon because I think it's a racial insult. It's like referring to I don't know, black people as chocolate or something. I don't know. Chocolate's quite nice though. I don't know if that's an insult or not. But that the Tommy Robinson crowd, the sort of people who think that the EDL have a point. Those are the people you're going to get stomping around, and I can't be bothered with that. That does not sound like a good afternoon.
You got it. Stephen's from real Ireland. I'm from fake Ireland. Just to address the chat.
I'm just glad it's catching on. To be,
it's
totally honest.
Everybody's yeah. So,
is there? I mean, in all seriousness, speaking of someone who's only like been to Dublin once for 5 days and knows pretty much nothing about Irish history that wasn't covered in a GCSE course for a week, is there much of a border? I mean, serious, hard political border now between the Northern Ireland and the Republic? I mean, do you still have the sort of machine gun police at checkpoints and things like that scouring all over the vans and the vehicles, or is it a bit more loosey-goosey now?
It's a lot more loose now. Like you wouldn't. I do remember now. My nanny only lives 3 miles away from me, and we had to go through 2 fucking army checkpoints to get to her house. Like now, in saying that, one of them was a standard one, and she did live in a place where there was an army barracks, one of the biggest over here at the time. So you always got checked going into the village. But yeah, she's 3 miles away. We had to go through 2 army checkpoints. Like, but now they're gone.
It's okay. It's a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, it's a lot more relaxed now. Like.
Yeah, because there were. I remember reading in the news there were riots in Belfast. Was it about a month ago? Maybe a bit more than that. I can't remember. There was something was kicking off, but I wasn't sure what the trigger event was. What was that? Do you remember? I got that completely bonkers. I'm sure that there was some sort of protest. They seem to be all young people kicking off with the police.
That happened over around Easter? That was the Easter riots. That was there was an awful lot of reasons for that. There was Brexit with the loyalist crowd kicking back again. Then there was also just before it happened, a result come out from court. One of the politicians over here, second in charge of the country, actually went to a massive fucking funeral for a terrorist and no masks or nothing. It was against COVID rules, and the court decided that they weren't going to charge her. So then there was that, plus what had happened with Brexit, and then over Easter, and the loyalists just went mad and started to burn shit and drag people out of cars and all.
Just like old times, eh?
It was very much like old times, not in a good way.
How are you, Math Pig? Are you well?
I'm just awake. I was putting the child to bed, and then she had the arm wrapped around me and was laying on my chest, and I blinked, and it was 11:10.
It's like that because that's the way it is. Yeah. No, I don't get it. But still.
Yes. So, shall we talk about what we're here to talk about?
Yeah, go for it.
Like, obviously, pretty much everybody who is here and everybody who is in the live chat like knows the situation with Johnny Depp, right? like most people I think here knows like the whole kind of thing there.
Yeah,
Situation
bits
with
and bobs.
Amber Heard and the the whole thing that like she accused him of like hitting her, of beating her up, and like this sort of thing, where it was the complete and utter opposite side of the story, that it wasn't actually her at all, or it wasn't Johnny hitting her at all, it was her hitting Johnny. um and yeah, like a lot of people, probably because of the Me Too movement and kind of like how society is kind of going anyway, naturally kind of believed Amber Heard when she first came out with the accusations. Of course, now what you are seeing is, like, with the evidence that has come out and with the testimonies and with the the videos and the physical evidence of like bruises and harm done to Johnny, you are now seeing people kind of flip their opinions and go against Amber Heard, and like calls for like boycotts. There's like an Aquaman 2 movie that's coming out that Amber Heard is in, and like basically nobody is going to go to it. Am I right in saying actually that she was fired from that movie, or was she like let go from that? Am I right in saying that?
I think we've discussed this before. I don't follow fucking celebrities, so there's no point in asking me.
There was a call to have her removed. I mean, I'm one of those people who won't be watching it because I want her to be punished, because we don't do enough in the culture to punish those who make false allegations like that. And I'm not convinced that if it had been the other way around, if Johnny Depp had accused Amber Heard, that Johnny Depp would have been forgiven or treated so lightly. Because I believe that a lot of what masquerades as feminism by certain people who haven't read enough books is actually just female chauvinism, and it's just sexist abuse against men. So that's my two penneth. Feel free to tear that one apart.
Yeah, look. I mean, like, I had thought that like that campaign was somewhat more successful, obviously, than like just people signing a petition or something like that. I kind of thought that was a little bit more of a success than that. But yeah, like I look, I didn't watch the first Aquaman. I haven't watched most of it. I just couldn't. It's not that I'm like a Marvel fanboy or anything else like that. Like, I'm genuinely not. I'm not massively into like like comics or anything else like that. I don't know like which one is. I don't know who would win in the fight, Captain Marvel or Superman. And you know what? I couldn't give a fucking shite either way. So like I'm I'm that kind of breed, if you want to kind of call it that. But no, like there was a lot of people who are now saying, as Kendon just has, that he's not going to watch the sequel to Aquaman simply because she's in it. Yeah, there was just and Johnny Depp was fired from the Fantastic Beasts sequel.
Disney have ended their relationship with him. He will no longer appear in Disney movies.
Yeah, there was meant to be a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which which should not be a true statement after the third one. It's trilogy, and it's a fantastic trilogy, and any of the other movies after that, they've just been okay, and that's like that's it.
There is one Pirates of the Caribbean movie which was a completed film with a completed script, and then there's been like about 4 films that have been shite.
Well, okay.
But
fair enough.
It's a dead franchise. Nobody cares about Pirates of the Caribbean anymore. It was a storm. It was lightning in a bottle for the first time round. No one expected it to do any business because it's built on a fucking theme park ride.
Yeah,
and they milked it for all it was worth, and now it's a zombie. So just
look, I do think that the first 3 movies were like they were pretty good. They like those 3, like, taken just in like solidarity, those as a group are pretty good, but all of the ones that have come out after that is just no. Like,
even
there was
Shane saved one of them.
But yeah, there was like one of them where there was like Captain Barbossa had a daughter, and it's like I couldn't give a thundering fuck. I just couldn't give a shite. But anyway, enough about that. There was like meant to be like another movie or like a spin-off or something like that Johnny Depp is just not in. but which look, even though it's called Pirates of the Caribbean and there's not a lot of other characters in it, that even if they brought back like every other character, like fucking Jack Sparrow is the reason that you go to see those movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's what made those movies. He's the main character. Like that was the draw. Like of, and so it's just like, look. Anyway, he's been let go from those. He's been let go of the Fantastic Beasts. Like he's had like a lot of kind of like backlash and stuff like that. And yeah, I just kind of think it was all pretty kind of bleak, and it was all pretty shit until only a couple of weeks ago, Dior, the fragrance company, brought out a new ad that starred Johnny Depp, and you know what? Hats off to him, man. Hats off to him. You know, like in the like same culture, like where you can be lambasted if you kind of go against like what is the SJW kind of culture norm, like if you go against that path you can be lambasted for it. And like obviously people on the more kind of reactionary SJW side will be like on Amber Heard's team, for like them to continue to hire Johnny Depp. I think they were probably going to get some backlash for it, but I think that they like kind of quickly did the math and kind of realized that there was more people who were on Johnny Depp's side than Amber Heard's. Yeah. And so, yeah, they kind of like figured that it was going to be, maybe not like the most successful, but by and large.
Well, no, I mean, this is where it proves that capitalism is perfectly amoral. They weren't interested in who was right or wrong. They were looking at the audience. They tested the water. They decided that because Amber Heard had failed to destroy Johnny Depp's reputation, it was safe to keep him. But more importantly, they noticed that there was such an upsurge of support for Johnny Depp because of his treatment that it actually might even increase sales. So that's why Dior have kept him. But yeah, so I mean, it's not. Obviously I don't read too much. I don't think Dior is doing the right thing. They're just doing what is profitable. That's always been what companies do. That's their function. But I am pleased to see that if there is enough of a popular response, the tide can turn. That does please me, because too often you get the sense that it's just her word against yours, so to speak, and that can obviously ruin careers. And the trouble is, Johnny Depp has got this sort of clout where if he does lose business, if he does lose work, he can come back. Whereas if you were just a pleb level, office worker, and someone did that to you, you could lose your job, but you wouldn't necessarily have the resources or the clout to come back and to reestablish yourself in your career. So I think, okay, Johnny Depp, he's been very successful. He's bounced back. Good luck
to the people who.
But there are thousands of buggers who get accused of things whose lives are completely destroyed, because trial by Twitter is more common now than trial by jury.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is as well, trial by Twitter is put in place because these people, and I'm talking about sort of like weird, man-hating, rad femme activists, believe that there's no such thing as a fair trial. So if a woman goes to court, she's going to get done over because the system is patriarchal. So they think that trial by Twitter is actually better than trial by jury. But of course it isn't, because it's just people shooting the shit on the internet. It's not any form of justice whatsoever.
Who's got the loudest voice wins.
Yeah, and who can drag the most followers.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't like political censorship on social media, because, okay, there are some obvious examples, like, okay, you might want to purge Richard Spencer from your platform, but ultimately it's a popularity contest. So there's no quality of discussion, there's no quality of ideas. It's just whichever is sustained by the users of the platform. That's what gets through, and that's no good for political discourse. But anyway, I'm drifting away from the main topic. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I have fucked up this, and I didn't. Because I never hit share audio because it's me.
What are you doing? Like,
shut up, right? I'm fucking getting up a fucking video clip. That yeah, like I just think that like this, like, So obviously, like we can all like sit here and we can say, like how absolutely like terrible and stuff like that, like it must have been for Johnny, like the fact that like he's lost all of this work, and like he's like like he's been lambasted and he's been like criticized, he's been called out, he's been insulted, even though like there's no justification to do so. But yeah, but like this is a clip from some sort of like award, or like a I don't know, like the fucking, like a Met Gala type of a thing, or like an Oscars type of a thing, where there was an award and there was a speech, and this is something that he did. And I just want you just to kind of pay attention to the body language that he gives off in this, and like how he's kind of, how he's speaking and everything, compared to the Johnny Depp that everybody kind of knew and was even vaguely kind of familiar with.
To the people who have been such great support and who have been there for a long time, I thank you eternally. You're warriors, and I'm sorry for all the trouble you might have gotten into over me. I love you, and that's weird. I believe me too. Yeah, that's a coincidence, isn't it? Thank you.
Yeah, so obviously, it was only very, very short. It was literally only a clip. But I mean, like,
to the people who have
shut up. Even just how it kind of started off, like he was literally stammering over his words. The like shot where it kind of like went to like broad, like where you could see his whole body, like how nervously he was gripping that piece of paper that he had in his hand. Like he was so uncomfortable and so kind of like, oh my god, are people gonna like say something, or am I gonna get like even more kind of like abuse or whatever like that if I talk about this and this, that, and the other. Like that's, I don't know, man. It's just like, compared to just how like carefree and kind of like absolutely mental he was only a few short years ago. Like it's just, I don't know.
He's an old man now. I mean, he's getting old. He's 58. He's not the spry chap he was. I mean, he couldn't do. I don't think he could do Pirates of the Caribbean again. He's just too knackered. He'd be too knackered. But there's a thing about. I mean, he's obviously he needs being a narcissistic personality, because he's an actor. It's a part of the program. He needs the audience's support. He needs that feedback. But also, I mean, it is terrifying because, of course, I mean, you know what this is like. I mean, we've read enough news reports about it. A guy gets accused of something. Everyone assumes that, because this is where when we were talking about. Do you remember when we were talking to? Oh, it wasn't Keela. What's her name? The American feminist, the one who's pro-life. Do you remember?
Okay.
We're on the Me Too panel. Kay, yes.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this. The assumption is that all women are victims, all men are perpetrators. Of the phrase "believe all women." That if I made the point in that discussion that we had with Kay and the lady who kept pretty much to herself,
Arena,
Arena, bless her. She was lovely, but very, very sort of quiet and shy. That the what was the word? Yeah, the phrase "believe all women" doesn't mean women are always telling the truth. It means when a woman tells you a story, listen to it, treat it with respect, and then follow it to a logical conclusion if you're a member of law enforcement. It does not mean women are incapable of deceit, which seems to be how it's been abused. So yeah, I mean, the assumption, this is where the Twitter mob goes mad. You get people say, if Amber Heard accuses Johnny Depp of X, Y, Z and the other thing, they will all rally around Amber Heard because she's one of the sisterhood. And there's no chance for an intelligent conversation or an honest investigation.
Yeah, it's like, look, I'm not gonna go back. Like I stand by everything that I said in that debate, as I'm sure Kendon you do as well. I never once have said, and I never once will say that the Me Too movement is perfect. It's not. This was long before anything about Amber Heard came forward. There was someone. It was before the 2020 election. Her name is escaping me right now, even though I can literally see her face. She had accused Joe Biden of sexual assault or like sexual misconduct. I think it was more kind of closer to, but kind of assault because it was a little bit gropey. And the Me Too movement, as soon as she came forward and said that it was an elected official, they were all on board and they were like, yes, 100%, we'll like take you and we'll take your story and we'll fight for you. And then as soon as they found out that it was Joe Biden, because he was the front runner and he was running against Trump, they then dropped her, which is fucked up because he still did it, or he's still accused of doing it. You know what I mean? So they were willing to kind of take her on the basis of that accusation, and they still should be able to. It doesn't matter who it is.
This is proof that it's not about principle, it's about policy, and it's all about politics. Because Donald Trump makes a comment about grabbing women by the pussy. He's not even actually caught doing it. Obviously, that's followed him now for years, which is fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that. Joe Biden actually puts his hand on a woman without permission and does whatever he's doing. Not a dicky bird. Not a dicky bird from the Me Too movement. In fact, as you've pointed out, they deliberately suppress it. I hate double standards. I can't stand it. If you're operating in principle, that's fine, but consistently apply them. If you're not applying them consistently, you're wasting my time. You're pretending to be moralistic, and that winds me up like nothing. It's
it's like, look, I generally support the Me Too movement. I generally support a lot of movements. None of them are perfect. But then again, like trying to kind of, and I'm not excusing it. I know it may sound like initially that I am. I'm not excusing it. That, you know, none to try and expect, or to try and want perfection from an organization which is made up of individual people who they themselves are not perfect. You're wasting your time because you're never going to find it. There's not a single organization on the planet that is perfect. They've all done something wrong. They've all said something wrong, or they've all made like a bad press statement or something like that. However, as you have said, it's double standards. They were willing to take her story. By the way, chat, if anybody knows who the fuck I'm talking about, it is literally going to be the biggest brainworm of this entire stream now. Or Kendon, if you can just open just another Chrome tab and just figure it out, it'd be perfect.
Biden woman accusation.
That like they were willing to take her claims. Tara Reid, yes, I knew as soon as you said it was going to pop into my mind. Right, so they were willing to take Tara Reid based on her accusation that it was just an elected official, but then as soon as they found out who it was, it's like, oh no, we can't do that because Orange Man bad, we need to get him out of the office, which is true in and of itself. Orange Man is bad and we did need to get him out of office. I say we, but you've just enabled
a sex pest, basically.
Exactly.
Our sex case is better than your sex case. It's not a moral position.
I mean, look, even if we were to just kind of drop all standards and, it literally was, Kendon, as you've just kind of like mockingly said, my sex pest is better than your sex pest. I mean, we are talking about, yes, okay, Joe Biden, who is a little bit creepy and who does go around sniffing people for some particular reason, who is accused of doing XYZ to Tara Reid. It is that, like, all of that, and even though that is all bad, that is all that is still versus the person who was like openly and on the record close personal friends with Jeffrey Epstein, who owned a private jet and a private island, and who is on the record as saying that they shared a fondness for young women. It's a little bit, it's still, I'm not saying that like, that makes what Joe did okay. It doesn't. But even if we were to literally just do a battle of who was the worst sex pest, it's unfortunately still Donald Trump is the worst. It's like he's a unique character in a lot of different ways, but in the sense that he's the worst at every kind of like category that you can put him into, like consistently. You know, on like categories of, you know, who has the most even tan, he's the worst in that category. Who has, you know what I mean, like who is like so afraid of their baldness that they're just lying to themselves and the world, Donald Trump is the worst at it. It's yeah. I don't know, it's yeah, I don't I think that the Me Too movement needs to do a lot of work, and when it comes to like, I think that, and it's not even necessarily if the Me Too movement previously championed somebody whose accusations turns out to be false, right? It's not even just about that. I think that if somebody is championed by, or you know, like if somebody's case is taken by the Me Too movement, that they need to literally do a complete another 180. So they've gone from supporting them and taking on their case to then supporting the individual's victim. I think we all know what I'm talking about. And then take them to fight the previous accuser. I think that that's what they need to do. You know, and that'll get a lot of people, that will get a lot of critics of the Me Too movement off their back immediately, almost overnight.
Essentially, you've got to depoliticize.
No, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, essentially what you've got to do is you've got to try and depoliticize it. It's not about politics. It's about sexual assault.
That is true as well. Yeah. That is.
Let justice be done though the heavens fall. Doesn't matter who you're accusing, because that instantly, as you point out, instantly nullifies any criticism of the movement.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why people don't take the Me Too movement seriously is Republicans always argue, oh, well, you see, because they're Democrats and they all love Democrats, they only go after Republican abusers. They ignore the abusers within their ranks. And so it loses all legitimacy in the eyes of the enemy. Whereas if they were to seen, because justice doesn't have to be done, it must also be seen to be done. If you're going after Democrats and Republicans regardless, any of that, all of that criticism falls away and people would gain respect for the Me Too movement. But that's true for like any of these social justice movements. That's why when people said, oh, there's a lot of racism on the right, it's like, yeah, of course, but there's also racism on the left. It's the same thing. You know, you can't just cherry pick the causes. You've got to go after the problem wherever you find it. Sorry, Matt Pig, you're
yeah.
No, I was just, they're going to get stung no matter if they do a full 180. They'll get stung for flip flop, and it'll lose the strength that it has with it. You know, they're going to get lambasted no matter what they do.
I don't think it's a 180. You know, I just think they need to broaden their search, because they're already doing what they say that they're doing, which is going after sex offenders, which is perfectly fine. I've got no trouble with that. They just need to widen the net, and they just need to catch more people in it. But if they went after, could you imagine? Well, they won't do it now because he's untouchable. But could you imagine if they went after Joe Biden now? That'd be fantastic. Just constantly harangue him in the press about why did you grope this woman before you were elected to office? I mean, it wouldn't go very far, but I mean, at least they'd be applying their principles.
Yeah, they'd be seen as being a little bit more consistent. Yeah.
Just say, yeah, we fucked up. We didn't get Biden. Now he's in office. But you'll notice, I mean, the media coverage is not the same. I mean, Trump was like the rapist in chief for 4 years, whereas, you know, he was constantly hounded for things he'd said or alluded to. Any discussion of Joe Biden has fallen away, which is, you know, no mind. Be expected, really.
I think it's just like, okay, so this is not necessarily like, this is the weakest defense, and it's not even really a defense either, but like okay, I genuinely think that the Trump presidency versus the Biden presidency, Biden's presidency is just more boring. And yes, Biden has his gaffes and he says some like stupid things. Like he went like, and he went out and he said like, what was it, like 120 million Americans have now died of COVID, which is a clip completely, like, it's not even necessary that it's out of context, because he did say that and he was talking about COVID, but he immediately like recognized what he had said and he did then change it. But of course, that's where the clip ends as soon as he says that 120 million Americans have died.
He's just a senile old man, isn't he?
But that's just kind of like. But I mean, like, that just gets old after a while. That's not entertaining forever. That's not going to be entertaining for 4 years. You know, like it's just like
I'm loving this argument for Trump. It's wonderful. Bring back Trump. He was more entertaining. He made
no,
politics
no,
more
no, no,
fun. Biden
no,
is boring.
no.
You know, it makes sense.
Just think of the words that you're using. You know?
It's not even it's not even necessarily that. I 100% do not want.
Even wants Trump back. Okay, it's confirmed.
Yeah. There it is. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Socialist Stephen Ryan wants fucking President Trump back. Yeah. Like fucking 4 more years. No. Look.
You never know, he might do it.
I'm so sending you a fucking MAGA hat now.
I would, yeah.
But look, like I think that like generally at the best of times, like politics is best when it's boring to the vast majority of people. I just personally think that like when like the vast majority of people are just not interested in what's happening in politics, I just think that that's just like when we don't focus on, you know, like thing Trump did at this occasion or whatever else, and we just kind of more look at like the policy and the things that are actually going to happen and the things that are being brought up and you know what I mean, like those sorts of, like when we're more so focusing about that rather than what Trump also did on the day of he did XYZ, you know what I mean? Like I think that like, okay, I don't know why this example is coming because it was from so fucking long ago. I should be able to think of like a more recent one, but just for purely example, when Trump was still president, it wasn't just about holy shit, Trump banned trans people from the military. It was also, yeah, but look at this other funny thing that he said on that day. Like, I don't care about the funny thing that he said on that day. I care about the thing that he did. Like that, like that's what should be more important, and that's what I'm saying. It's like Biden in that sense.
That was Trump's skill. That was Trump's skill.
It was. Oh yeah, 100%.
Mad shit all the time, and it was happening so often that, you know, a week down the line you forgot, so to speak, that he banned people because he done this, that, and the other.
It's a kind of personal political spamming function. It was, I will constantly fill the news feeds with ridiculous shit that's really entertaining to watch. And so when someone says Trump did something today, you instantly tune it out because you don't care. What's he going to say? He's going to say something about a wall. The world, it'd be a beautiful world, it'd be amazing. You know, all of this stuff, right? And you've heard it all before, so you don't care. So when he says something, I don't know, casually racist, you don't care. Or you didn't even know he did because he said a couple of things that are casually racist. And even if it has devastating impact later, it glides past you. And so you're right. As I said to Stephen, I think it was in our first conversation, Stephen, all those many, many months ago.
Yeah.
He didn't win the presidency. He won television because he understood that if politics is showbiz for ugly people, run it like a circus. And he played it. And it was masterful to watch. He came in as an outsider. He didn't play the political game. And that was his appeal. And he just played it like reality TV. And that's how he got the top spot. So, you know, gold star for effort, lads.
I mean, in a sort of like in a really, really like twisted and kind of fucked up way, yeah, kind of gold star for effort. But yeah, I like it's like what was I going to say? Yeah, but it's just kind of more like generally just that, like people were kind of more so concentrated on what the silly thing Trump did rather than the actual policy decision that he enacted, whereas people are more so looking at, I think more so, not obviously 100%, because yes, Biden does do gaffes quite often, but I think people are more so looking at the policy things that Biden is doing, which, I mean, in the realm of politics should be front and center. It should be the main thing. But
it's boring. Bring back Trump. That's what Stephen said.
It's not what I said.
Your life's not complete without the threat of nuclear war.
Well, no. Oh God, I don't know why this is after popping into my head because it's got absolutely nothing to do with like what we're talking about. But I wanted to kind of get you guys' opinion on it, I guess. There was, I can't remember whether it was in a TikTok or whether it was in a Twitter feed that I saw, but it was basically somebody was making the argument of, you know, if you were to believe the conspiracy theorists, right? and take use their argument to defeat their own premise or their whole kind of their whole thing, which is if COVID is not real or is not as deadly as people are saying that it is, right? Just assume that just for a moment. Anybody who is now interested in or has the capacity to create a bioweapon in a lab and then release it as like a virus, right? They now know that they can literally wipe out half of the United States because they won't get fucking vaccinated. And so obviously the argument was, go and get fucking vaccinated, because if this shit, obviously nobody wants this to happen, but if it actually does happen, you guys are in trouble. It's the people who are willing to go and take all of the necessary precautions, people who are willing to go and get the vaccine against COVID or against anything, against the next thing that is inevitably going to happen. Those are the people who are statistically going to be safer, and the people who are no, it's not real, and I'm not getting the vaccine, I'm not wearing a mask, I'm not social distancing, I'm not doing any of this.
From a conspiracy theorist's point of view, and you're making that argument at me, I would just turn around and go, well, why would I take the corona one when they're planning to kill fucking everybody? They're going to obviously release a different bioweapon. They're not going to use the same one twice. We already know about COVID. They're going to release a completely different one. So this vaccine will not work with the new one. So why would I take this vaccine?
Okay, yeah, so the kind of point was, if everybody got vaccinated, then it's basically showing that that's not as effective a strategy of starting World War III essentially as what it currently is now.
Yeah, well, if this was a test run, then I'd want people to survive. I'd want this is a test run. This is to see. So we're going to release a small, not so powerful one. See how the people react. See how it can spread. We're not actually testing the deadliness of the virus. We're testing spreading rates, and we're seeing how fast we can get it around the world. So that's why we use this little weak coronavirus one. When we release the big one, you'll know. I don't.
No, my favorite.
No, I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but
no, my favorite conspiracy theory related to COVID actually was the idea that you don't want to take the COVID vaccine because the government's trying to kill you off. That's why the COVID vaccine just doesn't work. There's going to be mass allergic reactions. You're all going to die or be sterile or something stupid like that. And the thing is, Bill Burr, the comedian, came up with this counter argument. He said, "Why would the government want to wipe out people stupid enough to take this evil vaccine? Surely those are the sheeple they want to keep, and it's all you anti-vaxxers that they want to wipe out. So in actual fact, I'm protecting myself by taking this vaccine, and I'll become part of the herd, and you all get shot."
Which unironically is a fantastic argument. It's a fantastic argument.
Far better argument, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's basically just saying the government has now essentially demonstrated who it can control if that's what it's wanting to do, and the liabilities, if you're talking in the terms of massively big government and all this sort of stuff, the liabilities, they're the ones that you can't trust. They're the ones you have to pick off. So yeah, it's a fantastic argument.
Netflix is bringing out that new show. I can't remember. It's a wee animated show. Oh, what's it called? There is actually lizard people. They're all in charge, and it's this one company that's running all the conspiracy theories around the world. And in the advert, they had half people, half sheep. They had lizard people. It was move along, sheeple. It looks very funny.
I'm all over that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Did you ever read a trilogy of books by Robert Anton Wilson called the Illuminatus trilogy? Have you ever heard of this one?
Me? No.
No. The Illuminatus trilogy came out in the 1970s as part of the counterculture, or 60s and 70s. And the premise for Robert Anton Wilson was one of these weird transcendentalist pot-smoking acid types. And he wrote this trilogy of books in which every single conspiracy theory you've ever heard of is true. All of them. So 12-foot shape-shifting reptiloids replace the royal family, Jewish banking conspiracy, Roswell, everything. All of it's right. But the whole point of the trilogy was that he concluded that they can't all be right. So the reason the trilogy of novels becomes surreal because all of these conspiracy theories are true, but they're all conflicting with each other effectively. And his
Yeah.
argument is if you believe a conspiracy theory strong enough, you will find evidence for it, and because you have selection bias and confirmation bias. And so it's all magical thinking. It's all a form of religious mania. So I have a lot of sympathy now. I don't get angry with conspiracy theorists anymore. I kind of pity them a bit because I realize that they've sort of fallen into a trap of their own logic and they can't escape. So because they've just constructed this lattice work of delusional nonsense, and that's how they see the world. And as long as they're not harming anybody, although in some cases they are harming people, let's be honest. As long as they're not harming anybody, I don't really care. It's they've just found something that makes them feel comfortable because they think they understand how the world works. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me being cynical, but yeah.
No, I kind of get where you're coming from, like of like feeling sympathy for people who accept conspiracy theory. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of get behind that in a sense.
Yeah. So unfortunately, when it comes to things like COVID vaccines, people die. There were reports in the BBC News of oh, hello. What have you put in that? Ah, very good. So this is what it's called. Is it Inside Job?
Yeah.
Marvelous. Everything you know is the lie. The people who are really in control are. Oh, Jesus Christ!
It looks funny.
It looks hilarious. Yeah, no, I'm all over that. That's amazing. Cognito Inc. Good stuff. Right. Okay, I'll be watching that. That's in my Netflix queue.
Yeah. Every now and again, I would scroll down through the coming soon and just click everything that looks appealing. Seen that the other day. I was like, that looks so good.
Oh dear.
So, Stephen, host, do the host thing.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, like it. This stream has kind of gone wildly, kind of here, there, and everywhere.
It always happens when the
It always, well,
Because
it's just on my stream, to be totally honest with you, but yeah, like I wanted to kind of do it on like toxic relationships, kind of like in general. And I don't really know why, if I'm totally honest with you, because I don't actually really think I've ever been in one. Not like hugely toxic, anyway. You know.
I've never been in a relationship full stop, so I've got no insight at all.
Well, I'm in a fantastic relationship at the minute, so that's where I'm going to leave that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
toxic relationships bad, good relationships good.
Good, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's like it kind of goes into though like how like just how fucked up of a human being you have to be able to convince not only, you know, the person that you're with, but also the people around you that you're not actually a bad person, that you're a good person, and that yeah, like just
why would you not want to though? Why would you not want to? If you were a nasty person to one particular person, it is in your benefit to convince everyone around you that you are a good person.
No, but what I'm saying is that like how seemingly kind of easy it is to do, you know? I mean, like if like we were to kind of look at just okay, if you were to
you
look
said
at
it yourself earlier, man, with the Biden clip, we are in a mass culture of screenshots out of context, videos. You know, it is easy to take a 20-minute conversation and swing it either way, depending on what way it's cut.
Yeah.
You know, and you can convince people of whatever you want because of screenshots and videos and this and demeanor. It's what's important now. People need their receipts. If you ain't got that receipt, I don't believe you. Give me that out of context receipt. Give me that thing that can be manipulated. You know, it may be true in what you're showing me, but you're trying to paint a picture.
Yeah, like, but I mean, like what I was just going to say was like, how seemingly kind of easy it, like, if you were to show a photo of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard when they first got together, right, like, so like a few years ago, and then say, you know, and like then, you know, appear as like a time traveling wizard a few years ago, and say in a couple of years one of these people is going to be the victim of a domestic abuse situation, which one do you think it is? Not only, well, I mean, just because that's just there in the stats, but not only is it far more likely that the person is going to say that Amber Heard is going to be the victim, but also, like, just kind of like how kind of, you know, sweet and innocent, although I don't really kind of want to use those words, but just kind of like how she like appears in public versus just how like completely fucking different she is behind closed doors, obviously because of what's happened to Johnny Depp, but like just how convinced she had people that that she was the victim simply because she just said so. Like, is it because she is a woman and because she said so, or is it because of the fucking facade and the image and the like the everything that she upheld in public?
She's a beautiful woman, and the popular narrative is that women are all victims of men, and so it's exploiting the prejudice of the audience. Of course, lots of women are the victims of men, and I'm not trying to disparage, you know, not trying to claim otherwise. But this is why, if you remember, we had a talk about this in the Me Too conversation. Yes, there are domestic violence shelters for men, but no one's ever heard of them. We don't know where they are. You know, it's this assumption that if you're talking about domestic violence, it's the woman with the black eye.
Yeah.
And she was playing. She understood. She knew what the game was. She knew what to do. And she says it very much in some of the recorded conversations that were leaked out, that she knew what she was doing and she was going to go to the media with it, and no one would believe him. So you know, the reason I despise her for what she's done is because, of course, she's cheapened the stories of other women who would come forward, who might have to come forward, you know. Yeah, I'm afraid it just exposes a fallacy in our culture. It exposes the fact that we assume that because men are bigger and stronger, that they're the ones that will be swinging their fists.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah. Well, I know that this might be like a little bit kind of abrupt or kind of coming out of nowhere, but I do think that we've kind of beat this topic to death now, and that is the only one that I kind of have prepared, unfortunately, for tonight. Yeah, and look, obviously, Mathpig, I don't know whether you were there or like when you came into the room, like I was off camera and I was muted and stuff like that, and there was a reason for that, and I'm not going to lie, it's been playing on my mind. I will tell you about it in the back room. If anything kind of, you know, happens about it, or like anything kind of comes from it, I'm sure I might talk about it on stream right now, but I'm just not quite ready to just yet. So yeah, look, I want to once again thank Kendon Farr, who's becoming a very, very fast regular on the channel at this point. Obviously, Mathpig for coming along for that sweet sex appeal. Couldn't have done it without you. But yeah, so just thank you to absolutely everybody who showed up, who has commented along, who has joined in, etc. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, do all that YouTuber bollocks, and we shall talk to you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.